Matt, are we right to assume that the big guns are back this weekend?
Yeah, we got a full healthy squad and everyone's up for selection. So yeah, there'll be some changes this week.
I mean, obviously, just looking back to last weekend, obviously there's a big debate about Alan's selection. Can you understand that? Or
Yeah, well, first of all, it wasn't just Alan's selection. It was something that we'd agreed on as a region. So all the obviously coaching staff and management.
Yeah.
And look, it's one of those things. I think if some of those boys didn't play in rounds 1 and 2, as some of the Irish clubs, Sexton and what have you, didn't play rounds 1, round 2, it probably gets ignored because they've played 2, and some of them had a very limited pre-season, so we took a risk really playing in rounds 1 and 2. And then they didn't play for round 3. I think it was probably made a little bit more of than perhaps it should have been. And look, it's a really tough one as well to manage. So I know there's been a lot of talk about they've just had a break, they should be fit to play, but obviously our job as coaches is about player welfare. So as an example, Alan Wynne-Jones could now play solid rugby for 14 months because we got the World Cup at the end of the year. So it's almost saving them now because of what's to come, not what's been before. And imagine the outcry if Alan Wynne would play too much and then miss the World Cup. So it's just getting that balance. I'll be honest with you, is it ideal that you make that number of changes from a performance point of view? Probably not. Ideally you drip people in and out, but because of some of the NDC agreements, because of some injuries, a little bit of it was forced. So from here on in there still will be some rotation because that's forced on you really.
So you just park that game last weekend now and move on, is that the case?
Yeah, I think to be fair to the players that played, it's one of those where you can park and then move on to Treviso, but I think you have to go through your process of reviewing as well. Look, there were some positives out of it. I know it's difficult to see when you look at the scoreboard, but there were some individual performances from boys who've shown that they can play week in, week out, and we'll have rewarded that week. So we've got that out of it. We've got a healthy squad because of it. And just obviously some of the technical and tactical things we went through on Monday. But Monday it was put to bed, and obviously our sole focus now turns to a very, very good Treviso team.
Does it add a little bit of pressure this weekend if the suggestion is you're targeting these next 2 games? Does it add a little bit extra pressure?
I'll be perfectly honest, not for me. I think you feel pressure to win every week. I felt pressured going to Munster. It's a tough place to go. I think you can see from Treviso's results of late and the quality in their squad that they're not a team that I know probably the perception is the Italian teams you can target 10 points. Those days of well gone, let me tell you. Last season they were excellent, probably along with Edinburgh the biggest improvers in the league, and I think this year they've taken another step.
What impressed you perhaps last weekend when they were down to 14 men against the Scarlets?
Well, they're what they haven't changed, they are pretty resilient. So I think they were down to 13 at one stage, and they were 6 or 7 points up with 20-30 minutes to go. So first of all, they're very tough to beat. What they've added is they've got 2 very good half-backs at 9 and 10. Tommaso Allen in particular makes them kick, and then in their back 3 they've got some dangerous strike runners. So Ione and Ratavu, they challenge to get in any Pro 14 team. Very good player. So they've still got that Italian resilience, if you like. They're tough to beat, but on top of that now they've got some stardust as well. They can hurt you with the ball.
Obviously you've spoken since the news about Scott's injury. Obviously it's a big blow in terms of what you offered you in terms of the back division there.
Yeah, look, it is a massive blow. Scott's well, first of all for Scott, I think he was enjoying his rugby. For me personally, he's been brilliant. He's been almost a coach on pitch, if you like. He's really driven my messages home, and he's been very good for the squad as well. So he enjoys a social Scott. So he's taken up his leadership role on the socials, and so from a rugby point of view and a squad point of view, he's been brilliant. So it's unfortunate, obviously, for him, and we feel for him, but it gives people like Corey Allen and Tian and Joe Thomas opportunities, and I thought Joe Thomas took his opportunity really well at the weekend in terms of making line breaks, managing our forwards. I think he's a player with with a future here.
Is Keelan close to come back, Keelan Jerry?
No, I think he's still 4 or 5 weeks away, Keelan. Yeah, he's had obviously such a long-term injury. You'd be foolish to rush him back now.
Could you ask about Sam Davis? And obviously, he wasn't picked for the first game. Started the next 2 games. How do you assess him as a player?
I think he's an excellent 10. I think we're lucky here actually, and obviously I've known Sam. I've coached him before, so I know what a threat Sam is. Really nice surprise for me coming here, and I haven't really seen a massive amount of Luke Price, but I think in Luke and James Hook we've got some strength in depth there. So Luke had a really good pre-season, and we wanted to reward that the first game. I'll be honest with you, it was a very difficult selection and difficult for Sam, but I can't credit Sam enough in terms of how professional he's been, how competitive he's been, and in terms of the work-ons that we've agreed between us. He's been very, very dedicated and getting better. So I thought he's been excellent on the whole over the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Dan Biggo is such a mainstay for the Ospreys, but with Sam at 10, do you think there's more potential to play a wider game because he's more suited to that maybe?
Not particularly. I'll be perfectly honest with you. I thought Dan Bigger was a little bit misunderstood with that when I've worked with him in the past. I think he's got a really good skill set. So, can Sam get to the line and play? Has he got a nice running game and offload game? Yeah, he has. But I don't really want to make comparisons with Dan really and how he played.
But with Sam, I mean, it happened quite fast, didn't it? He played well for the Ospreys and he was in the Wales team, then had a few injuries and he fell out. But do you think that he's still got the potential to be a top international at 10? Yeah,
so unfortunately for every job really, but for rugby players in particular, it's never a straight line graph. So they never go from academy on a straight line to an international player. There are dips of form, there's injuries, there's sometimes a player will come through and take their position. I think a massive credit to Sam is he has had ups and downs, but he's continued to be a really good professional and he's dedicated to, as I said, to what he needs to work on. So it's a really good opportunity for him now to play a set of games back to back, because as a 10, I've learned if you give them 1 or 2 games and then they have 2 games off, they never find any form. So as an example, Jared Evans last year with the Blues, Anscombe was out for probably 8 to 10 weeks. It just gave a young lad a run of games to feel comfortable, to grow, feel confident bossing, probably more senior forwards around. And Sam's going to get that chance now, and I'm positive he'll grab it with 2 hands.
Yeah, how do you see the outside our position in Wales? There seems to be quite a lot of depth going with Sam, Jared, Patcher, seems to be in rude health. Yeah,
obviously, and with boys over the bridge as well, like Owen Williams and Reese and Gareth Anscombe. It's probably a little bit of a luxury, same as the back row there. So it'll be a good scrap to watch, I think.
Yeah. Alan said a few weeks back that you might be considering signing a 10 for the rest of the season. Is that the case? Is there any?
Not from anything I've heard over the last couple of weeks. Now we've obviously still got Sam, James Hook, and Kai Evans. So I think we're pretty much covered there.
And how's James? He's obviously at the tail end of his career. What's he like working with the younger lads?
He's been great. He's been good for me as well, actually, because before I come in, I had a couple of phone calls with him, and he's obviously got a good understanding of the game. As well as that, he's a really good bloke. So he's made me very welcome here. But he's also, I've actually been quite surprised. He has got a very close relationship with Sam, and they work together on their kicking and looking at opposition. So, James will play that role as a little bit of a mentor to Sam, but James wants to be picked as well. So it's important, we just get the balance there. We have to have players here who think if they train and play well, they get selected.
What was the biggest disappointment from Friday night's defeat, and what have you worked on this week?
Well, the score was pretty tough.
Did you expect that score? 12 changes?
No, look, we conceded 35 points when we were down to 14 men, and going to Munster with a fully loaded team is tough enough. Going to Munster with those changes and playing with 14 men for a while is obviously even tougher. We probably gave them a couple of scores, so a couple of errors in our own 22, and it probably exaggerated the scoreboard. I think if we obviously cut out a couple of errors and maybe took one of our chances, then the score would have looked a little bit more even. I didn't think the scoreline massively reflected the game.
And what have you worked on this week?
We've just worked on, we've mainly looked forward, so there was a couple of little areas against Munster that would benefit the team, so I showed a couple of clips, but it's not about saying, you know, we shouldn't have done this at the weekend. It's very much about saying this is what we need to change to play Treviso. So there was a couple of tactical things from Munster, but mainly this week's about looking at Treviso, because as I said before, if you take Treviso for granted, you get beat. Now they're a good side.
And at what point now do the Ospreys go fully loaded? We've just come from the Scarlets, and they've targeted your visit to them as that they're, you know.
Yeah, well obviously it was massively important. I don't want to reference last year massively, but it was really important we started well, and I'll be honest with you, some of the boys probably deserved a little bit more of the rest than they got, but because they're good blokes, they've fronted up, played the first 2 games for us. We've had that good start. I know there's been a bump in the road against Munster, but we've now got another home game, which is obviously a big target for us, and then we've got Zebra away, again a team that you can't take for granted now. So, you know, we'll be picking as strong a squad as we can whenever we can. But as I said before, obviously we've got to look after the players as well, because they've got a very big 14 months ahead of them.
Sure. And are there games down the road where you've already targeted as games where you will rest certain players, or do you just take them as a case?
No, you've got to see obviously who's picked for international duty, what kind of bumps and bruises you get. So, you know, you don't work week to week. You've got your eye on probably the next 3 or 4 games. We'll kind of work in blocks, but obviously in this game it changes, because you can lose 3 or 4 players in a training session.
And are you pleased how the backs have gone so far this season?
Yeah, in general, I think they've gone okay. They're how they've worked and how they've come together as a group has been very good. As I said before, Scott and George have been brilliant for that as well. I thought they've come in and integrated and found their voice really quickly. But we've still got a lot of work to do as well. So hopefully on Saturday we'll see another improvement.